psychologists have shown that the region in the brain that gets lit up when you're feeling the emotional pain from friendship, particularly female friendships, is the same as physical pain. So you may as well have been dropped on the ground, literally from a height, because it's like you've been kicked in the stomach.
BFFs, day ones, ride or die, squad goals. Did you know that one of the things that can help us to live longer is friendships? So maybe we need to start prioritizing them more. After all, good friendships are some of the deepest loves that we can have in our lives, which is why it hurts so much if they break down. I mean, it's not that easy, right, to go out and find a new bestie, particularly if you're a little bit older, or if you've got social anxiety, or maybe if you're an introvert. So how do you do it? On the flip side, how do you know when a friendship has run its course? I'm Rena Annobil, and this is the Lifestyle Prescription. And joining me today to answer all those questions and more is psychologist Mamta Saha. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Rena.
It's lovely to have you here. Now, you obviously share your thoughts on psychology and lifestyle on so many different platforms. You know, you've been in the Guardian, BBC News, Sky News, and, you know, today here. So I'm happy to have you. So listen, this is quite an important topic. Let's talk about the power of friendships first. There's so much research out there saying how beneficial it is for our health, how beneficial friendships are for our health. How is that so? Why are they so important for us?
They're so important for us because they release so many chemicals in our brain. Right. Loneliness is the biggest pandemic now, and that can make us sick, that can make us die earlier. So actually, literally, good friendships impact the longevity of our lives. So when we have good friends in our lives, we feel a sense of community, a sense of connection and belonging, and all the happy chemicals start, coming into play, and we feel good about ourselves and each other.
I looked at some research, this was in a Guardian article actually, that the lack of social connection is as harmful as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day, apparently. Is that surprising to you?
Absolutely, because an idle mind is a devil's workshop. And if we're by ourselves and we don't have that release or connection, and I'm not talking about deep friendships necessarily, even social connections at a very shallow level, like speaking to the person who you buy your, newspaper or apples from or whatever it might be, that's really important to us. That's really important to our evolution, actually. We grew up in tribes, and so we need that to feel connected, to feel alive.
Okay, but do you think that at this moment in time, as a population, that we are actually more isolated than ever?
I think that there are so many things that we have at hand that encourage the isolation, that encourage that sense of individuality and not collectivism. And those things stem from like social media, mobile phone devices, the whole celebration of individuality, etc., which is a good thing. But everything taken to the extreme may make us feel so isolated and disconnected that we become too black and white in our thinking around it.
You know what? You just touched on something there. And this is not even in my list of questions, right? But I'm so glad that you mentioned this. The whole thing of we're becoming very aware of ourselves, what our triggers are for certain things, boundaries, all these things that, I didn't know about growing up because nobody knew or cared then. Yeah. Which is great. Those are healthy things for us. But in a way, is it making people a little bit more selfish? Like, no, I don't like that about you. I don't want anything to do with you. You're toxic. I'm cutting you off. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think that what I notice is that there's often a lack of emotional maturity, and we can act from that place, and we can be so transient in our interactions and so kind of fickle with our commitment to friendships, to honour our boundaries or to honour being respected, that we've lost the art and we've lost the emotional maturity and ability to have those difficult, courageous conversations, which I would say are fundamental to keep good friendships going and alive.
Because at the end of the day, right, everybody has their annoying little quirks.
Of course.
Okay, whether they're our family, whether they're our own parents, and, I probably have some, right? Everybody does. But then, isn't there that thing of if you are somebody's friend, you show up, and sometimes it's not convenient or they're being annoying, but you show up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to show up. Actually, there's an amazing sociologist called Danielle Beinard, and she's done some profound research on friendship. And what she's found is there are three things that are really important, and that's support, symmetry, and secrecy. And those are the three fundamental things that we need in each friendship, and support speaks to that showing up, that makes us feel like we've got a good friend who's there for us, who shows up for us, and where we have that trust with one another, where we can lean on that person so that we're not in a state of fight or flight or dysregulation when it comes to our own nervous system. And like you say, everyone has their quirks. Sometimes you may not be able to show up because your child needs you, or because you have other commitments, or you might be going through a breakup yourself of some kind. But that foundation of consistent showing up for each other, support, secrecy and symmetry can help you know that this person isn't going to run away and they are your true friend.
Support, secrecy and symmetry. So the secrecy part is what you're confiding in somebody.
So it's like you have a vault between you. And this is where female friendships are so different to male friendships. Because when I think about my husband and his friends, they have this cinema thing and it's really cute. And they've been friends for like many decades, and revealing our age here. And they'll go to the cinema and there'll be a whole group of them. And I'm like, so did this person have the baby yet? And he's like, I don't know, we didn't talk about it. And I'm like, what?
Watch the film.
Yeah, we just got something from the food court. Oh, they go to a food court. I'm like, sit down and go to a restaurant. No. So there's none of this secrecy. And whereas female friendships are typically 1-on-1 or 1-4 max. And you tend to have like a vault feeling with each other in terms of sharing intimate details. It's more like a sibling relationship as opposed to having cousins, which is more like a male friendship relationship. And when you have that, it builds that foundation of trust. And if any of those three elements go awry, or you feel tension in any of those areas, that's when, if there isn't a strong communication or emotional maturity or mindset, that's when the relationship becomes strained, and we have things like ghosting, passive aggressive jives. We have people falling out with each other and falling into the drama triangle of being a victim or a persecutor or a rescuer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack here. Wow. I feel like it's like an episode of Mean Girls. Like, I mean, not episode, but watching Mean Girls and figuring out who's who and what's what. Okay, so I want to just talk to you about the symmetry thing that you mentioned as well, right?
Of course.
What does that mean? Does that mean that you need to be friends with somebody who is in the same phase of life as you, or going through the same things?
Not necessarily. It's more around, are we happy for each other? Can you feel that person has happiness for you and where you're going in your life? Are you literally on the same level? You know how when you meet someone, and in the olden days we say, they're just not on my level. I'm just not on their, I'm not on their level. And that actually is describing an energy. Okay. And it's not good or bad, by the way, because we're all on journeys. And no, it's not about being a bad person or a good friend or a bad friend. It's just, for example, before the podcast started, I was probing your brains about the media. I love the media. I'd love to get into the media. I'd love to do more in the media. So any talent scouts out there, please contact me.
I love this. You know what? Throwing it out there. Let's manifest this.
Yeah. Don't miss an opportunity. And look, you're really excited by that. Whereas if there was no symmetry between us, one, I wouldn't even be asking you about your media because it would feel too threatening for me. And two, when I just did that, you would be like, what is she doing? You would be annoyed by me. Yeah. And I would pick up on that and you would pick up on that. So we have symmetry, which makes it even more exciting and feel like even more of a safer place to coexist.
Okay. That's great, and that all makes sense to me. Do you think the proximity, how close you live to somebody, is important in terms of friendship? Can a long distance friendship work? For example?
So personally, I'll speak personally for myself. I've been an expat repat. We lived in the Middle East for chunks of time within our in our lives, and I've maintained some friendships, and some friendships unfortunately have not been maintained. And I think it's all about the effort and energy and intention that you bring to the friendship, whether that person live around the corner or live miles away. And I think if that intention, energy, and mindset is there to make that friendship work, it will. And it used to make me really sad because I would be holding a light for certain friends and then they wouldn't give me the time of day when I moved back into the country. And vice versa, I'm sure, because things change. But what transpires over time is that doesn't happen with everyone. It's just a handful of friends that you can really actually hold. Psychologists say 4 to 5 good friendships is all that you have the capacity to hold, actually.
4 to 5?
Yeah, 4 to 5 strong
yeah.
friendships. And so when I reflect back, I think geography doesn't make a difference. It's all about who you are, how you show up to that individual, and your commitment to wanting to see it work.
Yeah. Okay. 4 to 5 good friendship. That makes me feel a little bit better, because I feel like my friends have been dropping like flies, but I've still got 4 to 5.
Yeah, great.
You know,
Yeah.
do my kids count as friends as well?
Yeah, mine too.
But I feel like it's sometimes, you know, friendships, obviously we grow out of friendships. That's quite normal as well, though, isn't it?
It is normal. It is normal, and I think that there is a way to grow together, even if you're growing differently, and that's through communication. And that takes a very solid friendship to have that sense, you know, to have that communication and be able to share again that symmetry around. You know, you might have one friend that wants to get married and have babies, and you then have the other friend who's ambitious and wants to travel the world. And as long as those friends communicate and are happy for each other, then they can coexist as friends. They can live their lives side by side and still be happy, even though they might be doing different things.
Yeah. How do you know that a friendship's done, though? And I know it's quite a hard one, and sometimes we don't want to kind of look at things and accept it. We don't want to accept it. What are the signs that this is done? Time to drop a friend.
Yeah, I'm going to make myself comfortable. So
Yes.
I think
Go on.
you've got to notice how you feel after you've spent time with that friend,
Yeah.
or when you think of that friend. So I've started doing this myself, because I would be a friendaholic, and Elizabeth Day has written a really good book called Friendaholic, and I'd want to be friends with everybody. And sometimes you have to notice when you're feeling depleted or maybe mildly attacked by a friend, and it's not been anything physical, but you might feel put down, or you might feel dismissed, or you might feel as though your friend was trying to patronize you and coach you. So pay attention to your vibes, because vibes do not lie. Literally, your energy will let you know that something might be off, or it might feel really good. And also, just notice your nervous system. Are you relaxed when you're around that person, or not? And if you start to feel like you can't be yourself, if you feel like you can't be yourself, you can't show up fully as yourself, you're holding back a little bit, you're masking to a certain extent, then perhaps that friend isn't the right friend for you. And that also is quite a hard journey, a hard decision to make, because there might be something about that friendship that brings you so much joy. So it's about being able to just accept it and make a choice for yourself so you can move forward.
I mean, gone are the days where in the playground it was like, do you want to be my friend? Oh, we're breaking friends now. You're not going to do that, right? So is it a case of just distancing yourself from someone because you don't feel good around them?
I am a strong believer in communication and respect. And I think that if you've shared special moments with someone and they were once your ride or die best friend, or your go-to person that you just picked up the phone to or thought of, then I think you at least owe them a conversation. We have become such a fickle generation where we're like, not working for me, you know, like we were saying earlier, I should have distanced myself now. That's extremely painful. I think when people are invested in friendships, I certainly know I'm all like bells and whistles, all guns blazing when it comes to my friends. I really show up. And I think that when you start to distance yourself, and maybe you've got good reason to, without explanation, it can leave a wound open, which is really not a mature way of being able to handle things and move forward.
Yeah, but it's difficult because not everyone's ready to have that conversation, right? And that's confrontation.
Absolutely.
And it's having a difficult conversation.
Yes, it is. And I think I strongly encourage to try and to ask permission to have that conversation, and to say, you know, I want to speak to you. Can we have coffee? You know, I want to share some things that have been on my mind. And look, that conversation, I've been there myself, can go one of two ways. It can lead to an even deeper, richer connection, which is absolutely beautiful. Or it could lead to defensiveness and meeting a loggerhead and the dissolution of your friendship. And that's okay, because that's insight and data in itself. So I would say it's always worth having the conversation, because whatever you get from it, you're going to know and you're going to grow. And it is scary, because we don't want to have that difficult conversation. We'd rather leave it. We'd rather just distance ourselves, not answer that phone call, not invite that person to things, avoid them, cross the road. I just personally think that's quite cowardly. That's my view.
So the conversation you would be having is about, I felt a certain way because maybe you said this to me or something like that, right?
I just want to speak from the heart, and I would really love it if I can share with you. And naturally that's going to, you know, make someone feel a little bit defensive, and then you would kind of say, look, I've really this is coming from a place of love, and I'm sharing it because I really love you and I care about our friendship.
Yeah.
And this is important that I share. And often you'll find it's just a misunderstanding or something that was in your mind. But if you don't have the conversation, you're never going to know.
From a person who's on the other side where you've been dropped, right? That is quite painful, isn't it?
Extremely.
Because obviously in those circumstances, nobody's had the conversation.
Yeah.
And also, that person might not even acknowledge that they've dropped you. It's just, right?
Yeah.
You know when you've been dropped, don't you?
100%. You know when you've been dropped. You can't avoid it. And actually, psychologists have shown that the region in the brain that gets lit up when you're feeling the emotional pain from friendship, particularly female friendships, is the same as physical pain. So,
Really?
so you
Okay.
may as well have been
quite
dropped
deep.
on the
Yeah,
ground,
yeah.
literally from a height, because it's like you've been kicked in the stomach. It's so invalidating. As human beings, we have 3 fundamental needs that are not, obviously we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs: food, water, shelter, etc., safety. But we have fundamental needs to be seen, heard, and recognized. If we feel seen, heard, and recognized, we feel respected. That makes us feel valued. It makes us feel connected. If you're dropped, you're not seen, you're not heard, you're not recognized, you are disregarded, you are a non-entity. That's dehumanizing. It's awful. Can you hear the pain in my voice?
Has this happened to you? Because it's happened to me. And
It's happened to me. And I've had to, as someone who's neurodiverse and I'm autistic, it really hits very, very deeply.
Yeah.
It's very personal. So I've had to do a lot of, and I guess the saving grace is that I'm also a psychologist. So I'm like, I notice I'm feeling deeply sad and wounded at the moment. I wonder what that's speaking to. So I've had to, it's created a portal into a lot of growth and self-development.
Yeah.
But I can't say at all that it's been easy.
It's kind of like, it's grief really, isn't it?
Yes, it's 100% grief. You are grieving someone who's alive. That is, if we were to summarize it in a sentence, for all the ghosters out there, have the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that be brave and don't go in defensive. Go in from a place of love, because I think love is what connects us, and you can continue to love even if you don't hang out with that person every week and see them, but have the respect and the audacity to be able to own how you feel.
Because I think this has happened to me recently, right? Where I think I've been dropped, and you know how you said that we could only manage about 4 or 5 friends. Well, a particular friend who was a really good friend said that they could only manage 6 friends, and I got a feeling that I was the 6th one, and then I got bumped off.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I've got a feeling, and I actually said that, and then she's like, "Oh no, like this." But you know when you just know, like you said. But also, I've spoken to other people who have had really good friends that they've had brilliant times with. Things weren't quite right, but the whole feeling of being ghosted is quite bad. And we can't really do much about that, can we, if we're ghosted by a friend?
Well, we can do a lot of healing ourselves. So we can go through the process of letting go. You can, what I've personally done is I've got all the cards out, any gifts and things like that. And when the gardener's been burning the leaves in the back garden, I'll go there with my little carrier bag, and my husband's like, "What is she doing now?" And I'll just say goodbye, and I'll just throw these things in the fire, and I'll say, "I let you go, I let you go." Another powerful thing you can do, because what you don't want to do is turn anything inside your body into a negative state, into a resentment. You've got to go through it. You can't go around it. So you've got to feel the sadness. You've got to feel the anger and the grief. What I do now is when I think about that friend or those friends, I just send them a prayer, send them love, and I just visualize them, and I just visualize just an abundance of just love and light going towards them, because what that does is it serves me, and I'm sure that they will pick up on these happy vibes somehow. And it helps me to just manage the sadness and the grief that arises, a bit like a wave that comes and goes.
Yeah, that's a really nice idea, actually. In terms of making new friends, it's not really that easy as we get older, is it? Because again, I was doing a bit of research on this, and then I saw that there was this joint study done by Oxford and Aalto universities, where apparently your social network is at its broadest when you're about 25 on average, and then it pares down to fewer closer connections, and making friends becomes a bit more challenging.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
100%. Because if you think about how much exposure we have to new people back earlier on, so obviously at school you're around people all the time, at uni you meet people, when you go to work you're in the city, and then as we grow older our lives become a bit more and more dispersed, and so we have less contact with people. If we think about kids being in secondary as opposed to primary, I don't even know half the parents in secondary. Honestly, it's you don't see a lot of people, so it does become harder to meet new friends. And I think we become more set in our ways. And I don't know whether it's being in your perimenopause or at a certain point in your life where you might have a lot of self-doubt, or you might be carrying a lot of pain from friendships that didn't work out, and you think, no, it's better that I live a small life, or I don't go out and meet people because I'm not a very good friend anyway, or it's just going to give me pain and grief, so I'd rather keep my life really simple. So I think we have to combat those thoughts, because there are other people out there that could be more aligned to you, that could be your tribe, but if you don't try, you're not going to know. It's just one of those things that you have to commit to doing.
I mean, like I was talking about the playground days where it was like, oh, do you want to be my friend? We're not going to do that anymore, right? So what do we then do in terms of how do we make friends?
It's hard,
I mean?
yeah.
Because what I'm finding in terms of my professional life, right, I meet a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people like this, and I feel like a lot of the connections I'm making, which are brilliant connections, and I'm meeting so many wonderful people all the time, but I feel like it's kind of a networking thing, more of a networking thing. And I feel like those people are also, they're hustling and they're in that kind of phase of their life where they want to network.
Yes.
And kind of just put across what they want out of a connection, right?
Of course.
And it's not, and it's very different from we are friends and we're going to show up for each other. It's very different from that. Is this just the phase of life where it's all about that kind of connection?
I think that I think first you've got to do what you love. And if what you love is bringing you together with people, for example, even through your profession, it's about thinking, who does it feel natural with? Who is it easy with? Who would I like to get to know better? And maybe calling it out and saying, Sophie, I really loved meeting you and I really enjoyed our chat on the podcast. And how about we grab coffee sometime? Because I want to hang out with you some more, not work related. And that might feel so cringe. Like as I'm saying it, I'm being
feeling
like,
a bit. Yeah.
However, from my experience, I think that if we don't become proactive in wanting to meet new people, there's a danger that we starve ourselves of those connections. There's potential beautiful friendships that we can have, and our world becomes smaller. I've certainly been there where I felt quite isolated, and I felt like I couldn't trust anyone, and I didn't have very many friends, and I was resigned to the fact that this is how life was going to be. And then I plucked up the courage to start just putting myself into things that I enjoyed doing, like going to the gym and potentially going to a local networking event, or, things that were related to other things that brought me joy. And through those means, I've met some amazing people and been able to refresh. I have a lot of old friends, but refresh and meet some such wonderful people. So it really is possible, but you have to put yourself out there a bit and be your own best friend first and foremost. Know that you have something so beautiful to offer, and that if you stay small, then you're gonna limit yourself on the possibilities and opportunities.
So you've had to do that a number of times because, like you said, you've moved around quite a lot. So there were periods then where you said that you were quite lonely. Was it after having kids? Because I feel like the new mum thing is weirdly, well, it was weird because I wasn't aware of it. It's quite a lonely phase, isn't it?
I think for me it happened when I moved back from Dubai the second time round, because I was a lot older then and my kids were at school and a bit more independent. And before I was of the mindset that it's about quantity and not quality. And I don't know whether it's probably maturity and learning that actually it's not about quantity at all, it's about quality. I suddenly became a little bit more fussy, and I started to notice patterns where there wasn't that symmetry, there wasn't that reciprocity, boundaries were crossed and exploited actually. And I started to be really mindful and call those things out, and I realized I haven't actually really got that many good friends, and so that's when I started to feel it, and when I was a bit older, and because you're a bit older and you're sort of set in your ways, you can become resigned to the fact that maybe this is just who I am. I'm the common denominator in this. And I think that's, I look back and I feel sorry for my slightly younger self, because I think actually, maybe not with these people, but actually have so much greatness to offer and also receive from other people who are more aligned to you.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a nice, hopeful way of looking at it, you know, for people that are lonely.
Yeah.
Because it's horrible, isn't it? I've been in that situation, like I said, that after having children and you're in an office environment with colleagues and you're going out and all this stuff and stuff that you could just do very easily. And then you're at home and obviously you've got your kids or your kid, but they're quite young. And so you actually don't have anyone to have adult conversations with. I actually remember like waiting for my husband to come home from work on some occasions because it was, and then he'd be like, oh, I'm really tired.
Yeah.
But come on, let's talk.
Yes.
But for me, I feel like it has changed a little bit as my kids have got older because they're like a good time now, you know, and they are my friends as well now. So, you know, and sometimes it is, and that's another thing for me, and maybe some people feel this way. It's like when your kids get to that point where you can do things and have those conversations, sometimes it is a bit like, well, I'd actually rather be their friend and hang around with them than
100%.
you know, have these friends which are fake friends or just there to kind of, it's not reciprocal, like you said.
Yeah, and I think when you're able to see the quality of and the richness of what that creates, whether it be with your own daughters, your own kids, or just like, you know, your neighbour, for example, then naturally you have less resource and time for those friends that I mean that just take up too much energy and not really showing up for you in a way that you show up for them.
But I think it's important also to kind of just ask you about that dynamic between if you are somebody who has kids and then you've got friends who don't, so they're in quite a different phase of life from you. Can that friendship still work? Because obviously, like you said, you've got less time and you've got a lot of people to kind of look after. Their life is very different now. Can that still work as a friendship? That's where you're realistically going to spend time together?
I think that it's about getting to know that new friend, even though it might be the same friend, even though it might be the same Rena you went to uni with. But this is a new Rena, Rena as a mum. So what is she like? Getting to know that. If you make an effort to get to know how someone is when their world changes, then anything's possible. I mean, I have friends who are 20 years older than me. I have friends that are 20 years younger than me. Not that that's really possible because they're babies, obviously. Yes. And I have friends, you know, all different kinds of friends. And I think that just because we have kids, and I've always been committed to this mindset, that shouldn't define me either. I'm still Mamta. I'm still me, and I can be me without the mummy label as well. And I think that, I think that we need friendships that speak to all sides of us, but it's through, again, great communication that can make that possible. If we resign ourselves to the fact that, well, I'm married now, so I'm only, and I know people like this, I'm only going to speak to married people. Like I'm having a dinner party, like we don't do this a lot, but at the end of August, and I'm inviting some couples, but I'm also inviting the single people in that same group because I actually really like them and I want them to hang out with us. Why should I not be inclusive? They still have something amazing to offer. In fact, they might even lighten and bring more fun to the situation than all us married couples. So I think we need to, just open our minds a bit.
I feel like sometimes the people that don't have kids, when they look at you and hang around with you and your kids, they actually offer some actually better insights than actual mums because they're removed from it. And do you know what I mean? They can see it from a different eyes. Like, why don't you just do that? Or if you just listen to them about this.
Yes.
So I really love that, to be honest with you.
Definitely.
And the whole thing about having friends from different ages. Because even, I remember I think I was like 20 and I had friends that were 60 and I loved it. And then like younger friends. It's so important, isn't it?
Definitely. I remember at uni there was I had a friend called Peter and he was a mature student and everyone used to call him Peter the paedophile and he wasn't a paedophile but we are still he really wasn't and we are still in touch and he was like I think he was in his like 40s at the time he was at uni, so God knows how old he is now. I don't see, the thing is age is a state of mind, and I think that broad spectrum of ages is actually really good because there was a time in my life when everyone was around the same age as me. That can be quite intense. So I think that, I think it's good. It opens your mind. Yeah,
because otherwise it's like an echo chamber, right? Or we're all in the same phase. We've all got kids. We're all this old. It is a bit like that.
Definitely.
What about red flags in not relationships, friendships, which are like relationships?
Yeah, they are like relationships. So I think red flags, inconsistency is a big one for me. So if you hang out with someone, they come to your house for dinner, or you go out and you have a day trampolining and picnic in the park, and then you see them like a few days later or the following week and they just ignore you stone cold, that for me is not very nice. I think consistency is really important because it's about building something.
That's quite weird.
Yeah, that is weird. But people do that. Yeah, they do that.
So they'll hang out with you and have jokes, this, that, and then just completely ignore you.
And then it's like they didn't see you.
Okay.
Or it's like it's what the time you've invested, and it is an investment. And I know I've had a conversation with a friend, quite a heated conversation around investment in friendship, and she wasn't really liking the term investment, but I want everyone to see it as an investment because time and energy and showing up is an investment. So when the investment of your time, energy, resource isn't equal, that's a red flag, unless it's communicated. And I think that when you can't trust someone and someone has been sharing things about you, and it's quite all right with that fact, that's a big red flag for me. That's a no-no, because it should be a given that what's said in the vault stays in the vault. Because that's that creates that intimacy and connection in friendships as well. And there's just so many. There's so many, but those are the two major ones for me. Yeah.
We talked about loneliness, and there's been times when you've been lonely, I've been lonely, but sometimes does that loneliness cause us to ignore certain red flags, do you think? Because we want that connection so much. Because I know for me, like when I was in that phase, I probably tried really hard to build certain connections with people, and it was way more than they were putting in, but because I really wanted to have a little bit of a community and to hang out with people.
100%. And I think this is where we start talking about and leaning into our attachment style. So I noticed that as well. So sometimes when if we are in a state of feeling lonely, we might go into fawning, and fawning is people pleasing essentially. And it's just bending over backwards because you're feeling such a void internally, and you're like, I'm just desperate to fill this gap. So let me cook dinner for your whole family. And we're saying dinner, not that I do many dinners, but let me go. Let me pick your kids up for school. You stay at home. I'll drop them home. Why are you doing that? So, it's noticing. And when I started noticing that, I started going into and overextending myself and going into fawning. Essentially what we're doing is we're avoiding healing our wound, and the wound is whatever the wound might be for you. It's personal to everybody, but you've got to lean into that loneliness and lean into why you feel the need to cover that up and put that away. And I believe through my own self-reflection, through my work with clients as psychologists, it comes back to that inner need of getting that self-validation for yourself and doing things for yourself. So what I started to do instead, Rena, is I started to book the theatre for myself. So I went to see Tupperware Full of Ashes with, Mira Sayar when it was on at South Bank, and I felt like such a saddo. And I was like, I'm not telling anyone I'm doing this. I'm not even going to post it on Instagram. And
some people take pride in posting that I'm going on a solo date. Yeah. I'm treating myself to this really nice food. I'm looking at them thinking this looks like a fun time to me. It looks amazing.
So I did a lot of that. And then I was like, I actually prefer not being around anyone. This is great. But I think what I was doing in the process of just making myself happy was then I stopped looking to others to make me happy and give me what I need. And the question to ask yourself is, what need do I have that's not being fulfilled that I can fulfill myself? So what am I trying to get others to fulfill? And it could be the need of recognition or appreciation or approval. So how can you do that for yourself? How can you recognize or talk to yourself and affirm and say, I'm great as I am. I'm all right as I am. I'm a brilliant person, or whatever you might want to say. I am worthy of happiness and, a good life without seeking it externally.
And that makes us more appealing to other people anyway, doesn't it?
Exactly. So then what happens is you appear less desperate. People can, all the narcissists out there stop sniffing you out and exploiting you, and you then attract healthy people into your life. Actually, people that have a healthy emotional mindset, that don't have these toxic traits, and that actually are very independent themselves. That's what I've noticed in my life. So went through this journey and then come out of the other end, and I'm sure I'll go through other forms of it, and I'm sure we will in our life. I noticed that now when I started to tend to myself and started to validate myself, I started to attract people in my life that were very emotionally healthy and hygienic, and that's a great place to be.
Hygienic. Yes. I love that.
Yeah, they're
You
not.
don't need to be sanitized. You are a healthy,
Yeah,
hygienic
exactly.
friend for my health.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some more of those green flags then in
Yes.
relationships. So you talked about some of them just there, right?
Yeah.
What are other green flags? Like, this person would be a good friend. We can have an emotionally mature friendship.
Yeah, I think conscientiousness, mindfulness, follow through. If someone is, someone might call you up and say, you know what, this happened to me the other day. Someone apologized for something, and I was like, don't apologize. Why you never apologize to me? It's totally fine. And so just the conscientiousness and care about you, remembering things, remembering that you might have organized a doctor's appointment for your daughter or your dad, had a checkup, and how was that appointment? Was it okay? Just caring and thoughtfulness and consideration as well. Can I alleviate that from you? Or one thing that I've got a lovely friend who lives literally around the corner. She's a school mum friend, and she'll be like, oh, I cooked some extra noodles. Would you like them? And I'm like, I've made a massive salad. Would you like some? Made extra dal. Would you like some?
Nice.
And it's lovely. And now we do little things like weeding together, and in the garden, and like we'll take out the weeds and we'll plant plants, and she's completely different to me, and I'm completely different to her. But we draw in each other's strengths, and we have such a beautiful friendship. So to the point where our husbands are like a bit jealous of us because the way that we hang out. But it's healthy because it's balanced and it's fair, and no one feels like anyone's above anyone or beneath them.
Yeah, and you can be friends with people who are quite different from you, can't you? Because I've got some friends who are so different from me, and they're really, really good friends. And my sister's like, how come you're friends with that person? Like, they're so different from you. Like, I wouldn't have expected you to be their friend. But I don't know, it just works.
Yeah, and there's a lot of psychology around mirroring and how powerful, how much affinity we feel towards people who are like us. But through my work in diversity and inclusion, I've learned to challenge that narrative, because what I found is that I was drawn to people who looked similar to me, Asian, same sort of age group, and I was struggling with people like that, to be honest with you, because mindset wise I was very different, and ambitious. Like, I'm very ambitious, I'm very hungry. I want to do everything. I want to go to the moon, I want to be in a movie. Contact me. And there's so much I want to do, and I think what I found, and you remember at uni, I used to sing on stage without any fear.
Yeah, so just to let everybody know, we went to the same uni.
Yes.
She's a little bit younger than me. I mean, obviously we're still in our 20s, so
Yes,
it wasn't
exactly.
long ago. But yeah, I remember that's how I knew who you were, because otherwise I wouldn't have known who you were, because it was like, oh, there's this girl, she's singing in this fashion show. Her name is Mamta.
Yeah, and I used to sing R&B, and I used to MC, and I still do. And my kids are like, "Mummy, stop singing," but I know that they're just being player haters, like, because I know I'm good.
Don't mind them. Yeah,
exactly.
You do,
So,
you love.
and I found that these people were threatened. They were threatened by it. And they didn't say that so overtly, but it was very obvious with the passive aggressive and comments and things like that. And so I found that when I spoke to Simone, my neighbour, about, oh, guess what? I'm going to be in a global advert. And she's like, oh my God, like, that's amazing. She wasn't threatened by it because it's something she'd never want to do. Or it's something that, she's so emotionally stable and healthy within her own world and happy with what she's doing in her life. She didn't see it as a threat. So I think this comes back to what I was saying earlier about what Daniel Beinard said about that whole symmetry. So these friends obviously thought early back in the day, thought she's on our level, she's one of us. But when I'm talking about wanting to be the next Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey or whoever, they're like, who does she think she is? And I felt that, and they didn't like it. And then again, they didn't say this overtly, but it so transpired that there were things that happened that were potentially sabotaging for me being friends with them, and for that, for me pursuing these things. And so, yeah, you learn.
Yeah, that is, it's quite telling, right, when things like that happen, because I've noticed as well with myself that there are some people who, when something is going wrong in your life, they will be there like this. They'll be there, oh my God, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
Tell me all about it, all this, that, and it's nice, because it's comforting and you can confide in them.
Yes.
But it's also that enthusiasm to be there when you are suffering
At
or
your
going
worst.
at your worst, and then maybe not so much when you're at your best, right?
Yeah, I had a friend like that.
Okay.
I had a friend like that, and she
Had
was an
being the word
old,
there, right, okay.
uni friend actually, who is no longer a friend, and she had, and obviously I would move abroad and come back, and so, I always maintain that sense of loyalty for our friendship, and so does she. But I found that and I had to talk to her about this, that she would always remind me of things from back in the day. Now, I'd moved on mindset wise, just my outlook on who I was and how I was very different to how I was back in the day, because you just grow and you evolve and change. And she'd always remind me of things that were quite shaming. I didn't do anything that bad, but like things that would bring up hurt and upset and remind me of. And it was really what I learned was that it was like, know your place. Don't get too big for your boots. Don't outgrow me. I will take you back to where, to how I remember you and where I want you to be, because there was a certain point in our relationship earlier on where she was on my pedestal, I would look up to her, and then suddenly our lives sort of, changed, and it wasn't so much the case. And I think she really struggled with that. And so it turned out that the friendship wasn't as authentic as I thought it would be, because she celebrated my losses a lot more than I wanted to really acknowledge. And that's not healthy.
No, so what I'm hearing is that true friends are going to be there for the growth and let you grow.
Exactly. Let you grow, and also show up compassionately and not take you back to that well of despair that you were once drowning in. When I meet my friends, I don't remind them of their darkest days unless they bring it up and they want to talk about it and they still have something that they want to share. I will share with them, but never will I take them back there. It's all about how can we support each other to keep moving forward.
Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about is to do with making friends, new friends. But what if you are somebody who has a bit of social anxiety? Maybe you're an introverted person. It's a bit more difficult, isn't it? What advice would you have for people who are in those situations?
So I would say think about your special interests. So I'm quite introverted, and there are certain things that I love. There are certain things that I love to do. So the certain things I love to do is I love people development, for example. I love growth. I love mindset stuff. And so actually I've made a really amazing friend on Instagram who I've met once, but we're like besties for life. And she's really into mindset things. She's not a psychologist or anything, but we'll always talk to each other about what we're reading, and the conferences or seminars that we're going to, or a podcast that we heard. And so I think be open to making friends with people who have similar interests to you, and don't think too much about it. So just do what you love. And the reason she got in touch with me is I think I posted a video and she was like, I love your content and I'm really interested in this topic. I was like, really? Someone's watching the stuff that I post? And she was like, yeah, I love it. And can you talk more about this? And that's how we just got chatting. And so think about what your special interests are, because introverts have a depth of interest as opposed to a breadth of interest. And so use that depth of interest as a forum, essentially, to meet people. If it's reading, go to a co-reading book club, or create your own book club. Or if you like walking, put something out there that with a group or the community. I'd be walking around the common if anyone wants to join me. And so, don't be afraid to take the first step to just reach out, and reach out from a place of confidence for you. If you like sewing, say, I'm going to be sewing at the Cafe Neuro by the station on a Friday morning from 10 to 11. Everyone's welcome to come. And so, doing things from a place of pure confidence and love makes it so easy to then flow with others and invites others into a safe space with no obligation.
Because people are doing this a lot now. Like I see a lot that there are these groups which start online, and the whole thing is to kind of have these meetups to make friends, because like we said, people are feeling isolated. Yeah,
community is everything. We thrive in community, and I think that's something that is the Eastern culture we're really good at doing. Sometimes we take it to the extreme, but we grew up in tribes. We like the tribe. We need the tribe. We need the tribe to survive, essentially. And there's no harm in cultivating if you can't find your community to start creating one based on what you love doing. But do it from a place that's organic and not forced. Don't do it from a lack mentality. I do believe that energy has an impact. When you force things, then they don't feel as good. But if you just delve into what you love and put something out there, who knows what could be created? Contract. And I remember the first time that we started to...
That you've said out loud.
That we have...
It's not a written contract, is it?
Yes, it is. So
we've actually got a written contract.
We have. And I got this from Elizabeth Day in her book, Friendaholic. Right. And because I had many situations, Rena, when I've done things altruistically from the kindness of my heart for people, particularly when it comes to work, and I've just felt like that they've taken advantage of me. And so not that we're doing anything that requires collaboration, but we are delving into doing a bit of work together. And so we've got a friendship contract, and it's wonderful because she was just laughing when I posed it. But it's really nice because we shouldn't have any shame talking about what's important to us. No one's a mind reader here. And so what's important to her, she's put down. What's important to me, I've put down. I've explored what's important to her. She's explored. What does this mean? What does it look like for you? A friendship's never felt safer.
Oh my
And
God.
more healthy.
Maybe I need to go home and
Yeah.
draft some contracts for people. Yeah.
Definitely. I think that we can't expect to have that same fulfillment and sense of connection from our spouse as we can with friendships as well. I think that it's important to cultivate female friendships, especially. We need that community.
Yeah.
And so let's make it work for us.
So, Mamta, we talked about being dropped as a friend, being ghosted as a friend. Is it ever appropriate to block a friend or an ex-friend, let's say?
Yeah. I think that if seeing that friend's name or seeing their post on social media does something to your nervous system, does something to you physically, somatically, and what I mean by that is you can feel something in your stomach, you can feel a bit stressed, you notice that you're thinking all of these thoughts around, oh my God, it's that person, I wonder what they're doing, then I think you really have to pay attention to that, because sometimes out of sight is out of mind. And if someone's constantly popping up that's not good for your nervous system, think about what that's doing to your cortisol levels, which is cortisol is a stress hormone levels over a matter of a month, over a matter of 2 months. If it's going to be depleting your energy, it's going to be making you feel quite rotten. And so it is a hard thing to do. It's really hard. And I've worked with clients on this, whether it be an ex-boyfriend or, a friend. You've got to reach a place within yourself that where you're ready to be able to say, you know what, even that hit of cortisol for me is not enough. And I'm going to block you. Yeah.
Because there is something about when somebody has been in your life and they've been a very good friend and you've seen them meet up and all this kind of stuff, right? And then they become gradually, or maybe all of a sudden, depending on who they are and the circumstances, they become somebody who then just knows about you from your social media posts, for example, from your Instagram profile. And they become somebody who just puts a like on your posts, right? For some reason, them liking your stuff is even, it's kind of like worse than them not liking it, right?
I think so. I think the thing to know is if the relationship has got to that place, it can be misconstrued, or it can be seen as painful both ways. So if they don't interact, then it's like, well, they can see that I've won an Oscar and they're not interacting. And if they do interact, it's like, oh, they've decided to show their ugly head, And so that's when, I already feel it in my body that's when it's like, you need to draw the line somewhere. You need to draw the line and you say, we had our time. And just because you're not in my life anymore, it ended in a way that I didn't want it to end. I am going to choose to focus on the great time that we had. And now it's time for me to create a new chapter without you in it. And, I'm going to decide to make you unfriend you and have you be removed as a follower of mine. And I've done that before. And actually, it's like doing a Maria Kondo of your energy fields in a way, of your environment. And our social media landscape is also an environment that we exist in. Do we want to make that as healthy and prime as it can be? Or do we want it to be filled with people who feel like they can come and go as they please? That's not my decision to make. That's your decision to make ultimately. I know what I want for me, and I certainly don't want to be triggered by anyone where I can help it. And so, I will do an occasional cleanse and detox of my social environment, because I've now realised the impact on your physical health when you don't do that. And it's, life's too short.
So sometimes the deleting, the blocking and the unfriending is closure.
It's closure. And have the conversation as well. Like I said right at the beginning, we've always got to be brave and have the conversation. And like I said to you before the podcast, I'll say to people, if you like my video, then if you watch my video and you're commenting on it, why don't you like it or write a comment? I feel comfortable enough to say that to people. That's a friend, and some people do change or some people say, no, just don't do that. I don't like commenting. It makes me feel really nervous. And I understand it. So have the conversation. If you can't have the conversation, then is that person a friend at all? are you just keeping them on there so that you have that extra number? Actually, what might you bring in if you then unfriend that friend? You might bring in better energy and better people who really do engage with your stuff or are there with a good vibration, as opposed to a kind of a spying, watching everything you're doing vibe with contempt. I certainly wouldn't want to be anywhere near that energy.
Thank you so much, Mamta.
You're
this
welcome.
has been such a good chat. I feel like I've learnt a lot. I need to go and do some paperwork now when I get back.
Yeah. Have fun with it. Nothing has to be serious. Do it over a nice mocktail or cocktail, and use the opportunity to talk about connection. We don't do it enough, and yeah, it's so worth it.
No, I think this is a really good topic because I think it's a very, very important one. And sometimes we take it for granted, right?
Yes.
Whereas it's one of those things that, like we said, it can be so beneficial for our health. So thank you so much for coming and talking to me today. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope that this has been good information for you. If you too want to go home and start doing some paperwork, drafting a contract, finding some new friends, dropping the old ones, I hope it goes well. All the best. And I'll catch you on the next lifestyle prescription.